Record now. So now we're recording. Welcome, ladies. I'm really excited to have you here. You already know my name. I'm Blanca Vergara. And now I would like to start sharing my screen with you so that so that you see what I have prepared for you. So today we're going to have a rather scientific answer to why we are not hitting our full potential. And the slant I'm going to take is biology. Of course, there are many other sciences that explain this. So I might talk a little bit about some other bits of why this is happening. So if you have questions, please feel free to type them down in the chat. I'm going to stop for questions sometimes, and we'll have time during at the end of the webinar to discuss. And even if you want to say discuss a specific situation, we can do so. I want to start with this quote from the Dalai Lama. The world will be changed by Western women. I totally believe this because I see how women in the West are awakening to their own power. That doesn't mean to be CEO. The power of women goes beyond that. The power of women is just so great that we don't even know what that is. And I hope that in this presentation, I am able to convey to you what it is to play real big, what it is to hit your full potential. And that is, in my books, to save the world integrally, not just the economy, or not just the children, or not just ourselves, but the whole thing by changing the way we think, the way we love, and the way we do things. So when you see that quote and you contrast it with this reality, then I really feel disheartened when I see how many women are actually, well, basically killing themselves, working so hard that they are getting burnouts, standing bullies at home and at work, not being able to say no, etc. How we're really killing ourselves. How are these Western women going to change the world? When I see these, I get so, I must say excited, honestly, because I want to change that. When I see women talking bad about women, and now that I have the honor to be here in Mentor We, I see it more often. I see the great opportunity that we have to change that. What I would like to see is more camaraderie, but hey, we don't yet. The other thing that I would like to change is how we feel. We sadly feel, give me a second. I am going to mute you, if you don't mind, because I hear somebody with a little bit of noise. Sadly, this image is very often seen of the very successful woman in a high position, but she's unhappy. And the reasons of unhappiness are diverse. Doesn't have the love of her life, was unable to have children, is bullied by somebody else, etc. This lack of happiness among highly intelligent women, it pains me. So I want to ask you to assess yourself if you are in the right webinar. I made a reduction of a questionnaire that I have to assess if you are playing real big or not. of I am playing real big, if we are playing real big or not, if we are really in our full power. So go ahead and count how many of these statements apply to you. I'm going to read them, and then you count the ones that apply to you, and you are going to please answer it in this poll. So I'm going to read it to you. Do you minimize yourself to be likable or accepted? This means that you don't really speak up, or you don't really show your idea. You are just being nice, not to be, oh, excuse my French, just to avoid being the bitch. So you minimize yourself, you're really nice. Compare myself to other women. Oh, she's thinner than me. She's intelligent than me. Oh, she's really more stupid. Oh, she's younger and she has the most beautiful hair. Sacrificing my dreams and desires for other people unnecessarily. Oh, I'll go to that party. I don't want to go because I have to be there for the business or for private. You sacrifice your dreams. I sacrificed my career because of the family. I sacrificed my family because of the closing of this project. Sacrificing my dreams and desires for others. Unconscious wanting for mom's permission to truly live life. So even if our mom is dead, sometimes we're waiting for that somebody to give us permission to actually write the book, give the speech, change your career, cut your hair. Distrust women. I don't have to explain that one. Sabotaging self when experiencing happiness or success. You go out with a guy, looks everything so fine, and you are starting to get scared because it's starting to get so nice, so then you quit the relationship. You start saving money, and everything is starting to fine. You go and spend and throw it away. Happiness, success, and success sabotage. High tolerance for bad behavior from others. You justify how they treat you bad. You justify how they bully you. Feel guilty for wanting more. So many women don't negotiate their salaries because, well, they already invited me. That's already pretty good. So count your yeses. Let's see how you're doing. And the good thing about this is that nobody will know what you said. So you can be really honest. I think we cannot vote here because we're there. We're the hosts.
But I think for myself, I can see maybe I have all of them in some moment in my life.
Yeah.
Or some degree or other degree.
Yeah.
And how I overcome them step by step. It was very hard.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I don't know where now I am.
Yeah. Somebody's also saying that she's an 8. And we need more answers because one of those answers will be ours, which will not be able, we are not technically able to add it. But I agree with Yara that I'm totally an 8 or an 11. I edit myself when I write a book and I don't say everything that I want to say. And I edit myself in meetings and all these things. So somebody, look at that. 2 people are not answering. So that for me is already telling me that they are at 11 as well with me. So, and some people they're at a 3. So maybe this webinar is not for you and you are playing real big. So that's that I found really interesting. So I want to go forward and then I want to hear feedback from you on what didn't resonate. Well, actually, I'm very curious. I want to see the chat and I want you to tell me what resonates the most of this. Which of these subjects resonate the most with you?
Okay, Madeleine said it's in the call but cannot provide feedback because in the phone call.
Okay. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course, we're listening. We have some listeners. So, but which one of these resonated the most, if you would like to share? Or sounded really, this hurts. Let me see. Somebody says Margarita says number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have high tolerance to bad behavior from others. Oh,
Yeah.
Margarita, I totally get I'm there with you. Number 1, minimizing myself. Yeah. Yeah. Same with you, sister. Oh. Well, before we go further, I give you a very big hug for the courage to. I have another thing in the chat. Second, 6 and 8. Second, compare myself to other women. Tell me about it. This really hurt me. I'll start ruining my introduction. But I had eating disorders. And when I really had serious eating disorders, I was looking around in the street all the time for other women who were more beautiful than I was. And I was walking down the street and the business district in Mexico City, and I see this beautiful woman. She was so gorgeous. And I thought, wow, this is just a perfect outfit, everything. I would love to be like her. And then I noticed, and it was the reflection of me in a stupid mirror. Oh God, we're so mean to ourselves. 6, sabotaging self with an 8, feel guilty for wanting more. So, wow, together we have just tick all of them, and I have a list of 25 for you to, reflect on the things, how we sabotage ourselves. Yeah, oh, I love your your insight. I feel like others making me feel guilty. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is the quote of Eleanor Roosevelt, that she says, nobody can make you feel smaller without your consent. And that's, we allow them to touch our hearts. You're in the right place. I'm very happy to have you here. Welcome. So who am I? Well, this is who I was. And this shocked my daughter when she saw it this morning, because Mama was smoking. Yeah, Mama was smoking cigars. Was smoking cigars and was traveling business class and was the boss and was arrogant and was cynical. And there was no man good enough for her because, she spoke several languages and she had an MBA and a master in science in IT. And, she was larger than life. Nobody deserved her. I was so, in my books now, playing so small. But in the books of everybody else, I was just great success. I was the poster child of what women to the top is all about. I was the most senior woman in my company. I was traveling everywhere, business class. I had my managing millions of euros. And yeah, what can I tell you? I guess I was unhappy as well. I was really like an empty shell. And I was there for millions of reasons, that I will explain you little by little, because my case is just very specific. I'm not saying that everybody who is so quote unquote successful is unhappy, but I was unhappy. I was quite empty. Give me a second. Yes, now I know. I was very, very unhappy. And this unhappiness was shown in all kinds of ways. The white of my eyes was yellow. I had pain in my left arm. I had my period twice a year, absolutely, completely unfertile. My relationships were shambles. I was basically an alcoholic. drinking every weekend, having wine night stands. I was, just having a smile of this kind, I am happy. And how are you doing, Blanca? Fine. It was fine. You see, everything was perfect. And there was one Sunday, I don't panic, because here is where, when people tell this story, all of them, they say, and then I had cancer, but no, I didn't. I didn't have a crash car, a car crash. I didn't have, a heart attack or anything like that. One Sunday, I just couldn't explain it anymore to myself. I hated every single second of my life. I did not like my life. And so then what to do? What to do? And what I did was basically, I entered into a process of feeling, getting out of my mind and getting into my heart. I started asking for help. I went everywhere and looked for sources of inspiration, of empowerment, to see where it lied my responsibility, where it lied my power. And that's when I remember loads of things that happened to me as a child. I already ruined it for you that I had eating disorders. It was terrible. At 14, I basically had a near-death experience. And maybe you might know it, maybe you don't know it, but it is highly correlated, eating disorders, and particularly anorexia, because anorexia is everything about I don't need, and get away from me. Emotionally, this is highly correlated with sexual assault. So I start remembering, and yeah, I have all the symptoms that I was sexually assaulted. I don't have the full memory of it, but if there is ashes, there was fire. There was a lot of trauma in my life, and just by doing this cocooning, getting close to my feelings and getting out of my mind, that's when I was able to change myself around. And the transformation, that's a transformation that was gigantic. I quit the diet, I quit the exercise, and I lost, 30 kilos or something like that. It was incredible. I started to get healthy, vibrant, energetic. I quit my job. Guess what? Oh, I was able to open my heart and to allow love in my life. And by the way, this guy continues here. In a couple of weeks, we are 11 years together. And the transformation just continues. I've been writing books, I think now 4 books. I created my business. I've been helping hundreds of people, speaking all over the world with this kind of data, And this year, I'm getting even more excited to be more profound and more raw, so that people get more awakened. And the thing that really gets me and excites me is this little one. I always thought that I was going to have 2 boys. So when they told me that I had a boy, I thought, okay, cool, fantastic. That's what I always knew. But they told me that I was going to have a daughter, and then I panicked. I panicked because of what you see in the photo, patterns repeating. I didn't want my daughter to copy what I did with the first part of my life. Not listening to her heart and what she really wanted in her life, and going in a track of all what society was telling her to do. And that's why I'm doing the job that I'm doing right now. And that's why I sit here with you. Because it's not that I see you like my daughter, but I want to save you some tears. I want to save you some money. I want to save you some time, so that you actually are able to take out of your heart, after your gut, after your brain, all that creativity, compassion, and courage, to make you the best you that you can be. So that's the story. And so what are we going to talk about this evening? We are going to talk about the problem, the cause, the potential solutions, and I'm going to give you my top recommendation. So the problem. The problem is, let me see if I can get rid of my annotation. Let me see. Okay, I cannot remove that annotation, maybe. Annotate, erase. No, I cannot erase. Clear. All drawing, yeah, I like it. Okay, so now I don't get distracted. So I'm sorry, but I'm very visual. I get distracted. So what's the problem? The problem is that we have two inputs to what it is to be a great woman. The first input that we have to be a great woman is this one. The great wife, the mythical great wife, is supposed to be beautiful. Is supposed to cook very well, be a great mother. Shut up. Don't think, don't study, take care of everybody. You remember that 50, the women in the 50s? Just that cliche. That's why I take this photo, because it's very, very cliche with the colors of that time. So part of society is pulling us that direction very strongly. Part of society, and I will tell you part of what. And the other part is that we are called to break with that. We are called to go to the top, to get the rights of women met, to be the courageous suffragist, to be loyal to what they said, that's what they fought for. And we go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and sometimes in just one day, on a minute. What shall I wear? Shall I wear the miniskirt or shall I wear the trousers? Shall I be quiet in this meeting or shall I express myself? Shall I accept kindly and lovingly the offer that they gave me, or shall I ask for more? And we just go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and it's just absolutely maddening. In fact, this is the core why we argue with each other, women. You know, Hara and I organized this event on Dress for Success. And we were criticized because they put us in this corner. They are so old-fashioned and they think that we should be wearing a corset and coloring our hair, because we were not for the rights of women. And, you know, this goes on and on. If you are a stay-at-home mom because you care for the mental sanity of your children, these women are going to crucify you. Oh, what did you do with your education? Conversely, if you are a full-time mom and you put your children in daycare, these women are going to crucify you. It's just crazy. And the women are outside and the women are inside. It's like it's like being pulled apart and divided, like they used to do in the Inquisition. And that's the reason why burnout is increasing like crazy. So shall I have a baby? Shall I study the PhD? Shall I go to the gym? Because of course we have to be thin. It just goes on and on and on and on. All day, every day, every year. And it's just maddening. So the cycle is like this. You do something. You criticize it if it's not good enough because it doesn't belong to either of the images. So then you work harder. You work hard and of course you get results. But what happens that every cycle that you do this, the happiness gets smaller and the working hard gets bigger. And we just grow more and more dissatisfied by growing this division inside ourselves. And in this now, I'm going to add a thing from my background. I'm Mexican, and I was probably raised very Aztec. And the Aztecs did not have a word for problem. They have two words together, like an expression. Ome yolotl. Ome yolotl means the following. Ome is two, and yolotl is heart. So when you have a problem is that you have two hearts. The problem with women today is that we are ome yolotl. We want to be a suffragist, and we want to be the perfect wife of the 50s, and it's just absolutely impossible to be both, because we want to be everything, and we think that everybody is asking us to be everything. I want to explain the guilt. That's very good that you talked about it. So it's like going in a car, pressing the gas and the brake all the time. We just don't move. And we are wasting all our energy in that struggle. In that struggle of listening to voices, you are doing it fine, no, you're doing not fine, wear the miniskirt, wear the trousers, speak in the meeting, shut up in the meeting. So what we are going to talk about now is that if we keep doing this, if we keep thinking this way, the same thing is going to happen. We are going to keep criticizing ourselves as Blanca, criticizing Blanca, and ourselves as women criticizing other women. So what's the cause? Why is that? Well, the cause is divided based on the science that you read. If you go to the science of the European science, they will tell you that is your genes. Okay, blame your genes, blame your genetic. Fantastic, you are free. So what genetics says in this subject is that in our DNA, the research has shown that in our DNA, we carry the traumas of 7 generations before us. Wow. You know, the fear that I had just like crazy was fear of abandonment. Sure, my father abandoned my mother, yes. But come on, it's not that bad to be traumatized. But my grandfather abandoned my grandmother. My great-granddad abandoned my great-grandmother. My uncle abandoned my aunt. All of them. All of them. There is no one single woman in my family who's happily married. Oh. Well, I'm not married. That I will tell you that story. But because we are radical anarchists, that we don't want to marry. But we are together, madly in love with each other. I have overcome the fear of abandonment, because it is possible to overcome this DNA subject. So I already ruined the next information. So you are not ruined by your genes. But it explains why, when you go to a meeting, and you really want to say something and you feel like, have you felt that? That your body tells you that something is wrong. Many women were killed, hanged, for opening their mouth. That's where they killed the witches, because they gave their opinion. That's why the women of the 50s became sexy if they were quiet. That's why we are not sexy when we express ourselves. That's why Angela Merkel is not sexy, because she expresses herself. So these are traumas that are historical for millennia. So the science telling us this, okay? Then in the solutions, I want to tell you what we can do about it. So now, if you read the research in America, then you are going to have, you know, the way Americans think that the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit is basically you have your genes, that's okay, but you can change them. How do you change them? With your environment. You change your environment, you change the music that you listen, the people you hang up with, you change your environment, you change your future. But hey, I'm sorry to tell you, what happened? Who raised me? A woman who was abandoned. A woman who had 7 generations of women in her DNA who were abandoned. So what did she do? She raised me to be abandoned. She raised me to repeat the pattern. So what is the pattern in your family? What's the pattern in your society? So for nature or nurture, we are going to repeat the pattern, either because it's for DNA or because it's for behavior. So the way we talk to our children becomes their voice. So my mother used to tell me, oh God, I want to tell you the one that my horrible hair. My mother loves curly hair, and I have a straight hair. So all the time she will curl it and curl it and curl it, and I grew to hate my hair. For many years, I hated my hair. So, but of course, this is a very simple. Goodness, I'll give you better the example of also of beauty. But I think you are intelligent enough to translate it into business and money. My dear mother had the same body that I have, if I may. The body that my mother and I is this size. So if we're thin, we have the body of a credit card, and if we're fat, we have the body of a fridge. And all her life, she tried to have a waist, because in her opinion, the only beautiful body was the hourglass. So she has lived all her life frustrated that she doesn't have it. And she was giving me that frustration to me. So I was frustrated with these eating disorders. That was not good enough. I was not good enough. And I was exercising to exhaustion, not feeling never good enough. And there was one very intelligent moment of mine. It was just God guided me. It was just amazing. After the birth of my son, I was fat. I had the body of a fridge, totally. I had 30 kilos more than now. And I had the wisdom of a higher stylist. And I told her, teach me how to dress, make me beautiful. I don't want to go diet. And she told me about the kind of body I had. So what to do? Throw away the belts. Throw away the belts, get the high heels. Immediately, boom. Don't ask me, because I don't care. I ditched the diet that day. I lost 30 kilos afterwards. And that's where I call for your intelligence, because I'm not talking about the stylist, and I'm not talking about the belts and the waist. I'm talking about the madness that we do to ourselves. We try to improve ourselves, working on our weaknesses, when we should be working on our strengths. So, oh God, I think about and then we attract the people who will criticize us. So my ex-boyfriend, what did he criticize me about? I had a dissonant laugh. And I was starting to trying to improve my laughter. Well, to hell with all those recommendations. Listen to this recommendation: love yourself. Love your strengths. So this brings me to a very gigantic subject that I am really not going to be able to discuss with you tonight, because I can speak for hours on this. And that's what they call the mother wound. The mother wound is every single association that we have made related to women from our female lineage. So where the skirt goes, a woman speaks, doesn't speak, a woman looks better this way, which color you wear, should you go to university or not? Because it's very interesting, you know. We are, our brain, the number one need it has is bonding. And the first person who fulfills that need is the mother. So when you bond, then you get your self-esteem. So if you have a really good mother, a very good present mother, you bond and you have your self-esteem. Great. Then afterwards, when you become an adolescent, you must break with your mother to become a full woman. And those two steps go wrong very often in our Western society. We don't have time to bond woman to woman, as daughter, mother. And then afterwards, there is not a moment when we say, you are ready to fly and go away. So this is a gigantic subject. Sorry. So then what happens is that we develop the contradiction of the loyalty to the mother and the anger to the mother. I want to be like you, but I so don't want to be like you. So we create the contradiction that binds us to our mother and doesn't allow us to take action. So that's the happy mother, that's the argument mother when you are a teenager. So the other subject that is quite big, but relatively smaller, is the father wound. So what does our father must teach us? To be independent, to be powerful, to go for it. And sometimes it really works fantastic. My father was great in that sense. But what happens with almost all fathers? They are not there. My father empowered me and took me places and taught me how to say things, and that's great. But they divorced, they separated, and he was not there. And that empty chair, that was painful. So with that empty chair comes lots of problems. Then tolerate that people treat you bad, etc. So the third subject, how you get these crazy thoughts, is your country. And your country also has a shine side and a dark side. For me, it's very easy to see the shine side, the historical Mexico, you know, La Gran Tenochtitlan and the Aztecs and the Mayas and the wisdom and the first one to do this kind of astronomy and the philosophy of the Aztecs. And oof, don't get me started because I get all Aztec on you. But all that pride of being Mexican, translated to your country. And all the shame. All the shame. It just comes out in the news of all the horrible things that happen there. We all have that with all our cultures of origin, with our country, with our religion. And I'm not going to get into contra religion, but you can do it yourself. You can see what are those thoughts and beliefs that empower you and disempower you regarding this. So that's all nurture. Those are variables that are outside yourself. So what is possible? What are your possibilities? Well, your possibility is to say, Blanca, I don't care. How do you like it? That's why what many people do. That's why many women do. I am fine. You remember the smile I have? I'm fine. Because I am on the top. On the top of what? On the top of sadness. So this one is a possibility, but I don't recommend it to you. The other possibility is to blame. You blame your husband, your mother, your father, your country, the company you work for. Somebody unmute herself. Sorry, I'm muting you again. I promise you I'm going to open the mics. So But you know, what is blame? Blame is one finger pointing to somebody else, but three fingers pointing at you. So the moment when I took personal responsibility, just everything changed. And all the resources came to me. So approaches that you can take. So you are here because you are related to the to RSM, so you're highly educated. I expect that you have an MBA. So you're very intelligent. So I do not recommend you to go with cognitive therapy because you are so intelligent that you will fool yourself. You get my meaning? Why you will fool yourself? Because you will tell the story that you want to hear to yourself, and you will stick to that. I will recommend you to go more to one of the two. And in fact, I go more to the nurture. If you can change your behavior, if you can think positive, because those are the techniques that I use, and I use other techniques that are, in my opinion, more advanced because they are more spiritual. And now science is catching up to this spirituality. So I get ancient wisdom in my work. So don't focus on the genetics. In the genetics, you can focus from the point of view of loving them and appreciating and doing a study of the heroines in your family. But focus on the things that you can change. Focus on the things that that you can do. So what is my recommended solution? My recommended solution is focusing on the things that you can do. So I want you to know that you are not defined by your DNA. Yes, you have trauma of 7 generations past. Yes, it has been reinforced by all the behavior of your mother, of your father, and of your society. But you can change. You can change your DNA. And I'm just so excited to tell you this because at least in the statistics that I know, many of you don't have children yet. So if you start working with yourself on your DNA, and even if you have children already, you can already start changing. Change their behavior by changing your influence on them. Now, you don't want to have children, which is totally okay for me. Not everybody needs to be a mom. You will, by definition, influence other people in your path. So you will be a role model anyhow. So be the best role model that you can be. Change your DNA. How will you change your DNA? By changing your story. Changing the story from the guilt, from the victimhood, from all the things that happened to me, or from the I'm fine, to getting into the subject and learning deeply on what are the thoughts that are bothering you and that are stopping you from shining as bright as you can. So what is my recommendation? There are two ways of approaching your transformation. One is with your left brain. And as I told you before, you're highly intelligent, therefore don't use that, because you will trick yourself very easily. And I tell you because I fell for that. Oh, I wrote wonderful stories that I really understood what was going on. I ask you to go to the right brain. You see the paintings that are behind? Those are part of my healing process. And I have paintings all over the house because that is a way of getting out what you really mean. And this is not the only technique, painting. Painting and dancing and intuitive writing and many other things. So what I suggest to you is of the three things that you have that define this behavior, that are your genes, your individual choices and your environment, concentrate in what you can choose. And you can also choose your environment. So I put this for you to know that you can quit that you can divorce, that you can change country, that you can lose weight, that you can change friends, that you know, you don't need to stand the bullies forever. So how to do that? So the dependence on the mother, that is not where you are, because otherwise you wouldn't have an MBA. Quite likely you're in the independence, shifting from the feminine to the masculine. And that's where the gals that, I can do it. Have you seen the posters of, I can do it? They really look masculine. And I can tell you, I was there so big time. I did weightlifting. I did weightlifting. I have my hair cut. I really understand what it is to embrace the masculine, until it hurt too much. It hurt so much that I entered into the heroine's journey. And now after the heroine's journey, for me, because I really feel in the return, I can be masculine and feminine as I choose to. So how does that look like? It looks like this. You shift from feminine to masculine. Then you enter into studying the MBA, doing weightlifting, you know, these kind of things of trying to figure out the world in a way that is opposite to what your mother said. And then you get the illusion of success. I am successful. You remember the photo of the first woman in the presentation? What she said, that's failure. Success without happiness, that's failure. And then it comes the descent. When we are in the descent, that's where we are into burnout, bored out, they fire us, we divorce, that kind of stuff. And then we meet the goddess. The goddess is that, you know, real goddess. And maybe you really meet that, that goddess in your religion, in your culture, or that woman who reminds you how wonderful it is to be a woman, and you reconcile with the feminine. It's possible that your mother died, so it's possible that you cannot reconcile with her, but maybe you can reconcile with her. Then you can say, hey, mom, I can deal with the corsets in my case. And then you can go and reincorporate the masculine, because the masculine has a great, is a great source of value in us. And the union is that union that will make you the great leader in business that the world needs. The one that will be kind and nice, but will say no. Who will negotiate for more money. Who will get her way. So this is what this is the work of, I cannot see her, her name now. Yeah, of Maureen Murdoch's, and then the how do you enter into that? The how do you get into that? This is my work, and I call it the reality framework. The reality framework is to go through these steps, to recognize that all these things we're talking about is an illusion. It is an illusion. All those thoughts that you tell yourself are an illusion. Explain the root of the illusion to yourself. When you explain it to yourself, you know where it is, and then you can accept your reality as a powerful person with feminine and masculine strengths. Then you liberate that female energy, you integrate the male energy, and you transform how you talk about it. And when you transformate those inner voices, then everything becomes a reality. The deeper you go in the transformation inside, so now I have so much to share with you that I just had to restrict it to this time, because of course we have an hour, and I promised you to give you a hand more. So if you say, hey Blanca, I would like to talk to you, I would like to talk to people who are really interested in improving themselves, in really playing big, in daring more. If you are into that kind of conversation, just go to this URL and contact me that way. You will find a questionnaire. In this questionnaire, I will get to know you better before we have a conversation. I want to have a conversation with people who are willing, who feel they are playing small and who feel they can play bigger, and who are also inspired by this. So I leave the URL now here for you, and I would like to open questions. I see the chat with 2, so I'm going to start opening for questions and take a glass of water because I'm very thirsty. Oh. I see now your comment, Caroline, that you just managed to type content here. Okay. Okay. Oh, I wish I had seen your comment before. You say, I wish I had seen the context before. What social and cultural context are we talking about? Well, the content that I'm talking about, I'm talking to women who are highly international, who work for international companies, who possibly have an MBA. So it's very international. So you can be Colombian working in China, you can be Dutch working in Canada. Is very international, and it's for highly educated women. So these kind of women who really want to succeed. But I think that's accurate. Am I talking to the right audience? I hope so. So Roger, thank you for the webinar. Truth is, myself and Carlo joined this webinar after seeing a post about it in RSM group on LinkedIn, and we want to know more about the topic. According to the explanation, both of us fall in this category. Oh, well, great. But these are gentlemen, correct? Roger is Miriam, and I'm Caroline. Well, welcome. I'm very, I thought, I hope the description was correct. Let me.
Holiday in Italy. Thank you for joining.
I will stop the share. And if you want to raise your hand, if you want to ask a question, let me know to open the mic. We can talk. And we can develop on this, of course, because we're thinking a lot, Hara and I, on what to offer to you and who to call to give you more expertise. But I decided now to jump in to tell you about my story and how I managed to make that change and to save you some years and some tears. Miriam is from Iran, living in the Netherlands. Caro is Irish and living in the Netherlands. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So these women, and you know, this is also a source of pain emotionally for us. And we think that it doesn't mean much, but when we are out of our cultural context, what is okay is within us. You know, I think I'm a Mexican mother living in the Netherlands. I have children here, and an example, it came the Christmas dinner of the children, and I was really debating what to cook for a long time, because I didn't want to offend anybody, I didn't want to minimize other people, and I did something, a cake. And when I arrived there, somebody else just brought cookies that bought in the shop. Before I would have criticized that woman. Now I feel deep compassion because maybe, she was traveling abroad. So what is okay? And I'm very happy that Gina has raised her hand. I'm excited. So Gina, I'm going to unmute you. The floor is yours.
Gina, you can talk.
Oh, no.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much. I got really inspired. I am a Colombian lawyer. I lived in the Netherlands, now in Spain, and I completely empathize in all your speech. And for me, I had to become strong really early because I got divorced when I was in my 20s. So I developed like more strength than a man, I think. So now, even though it's very easy for me to do business with men, it's like bang, bang, bang. I really negotiate really good, but in the personal level, I'm a disaster, It's the completely opposite. I feel it. And now I go to dates and I just talk about business and it's like it's been really difficult for me to connect as a woman. And I live in the Netherlands, that it's a culture very different as we women in Latin America used to be treated as men. So it became to me like who I am or who I am as a woman or how do I expect men to behave with me. So I'm like lost, also because of all this difference in culture that I have influenced my behavior also, what you were telling. I come with some background, but obviously the personal experience and the culture I have been living inspires you, and you also take the empowerment of the Dutch woman, that it's really interesting. But as a woman, then who are you,
Oh, I'm so excited to hear you, Gina. Thank you so much, and I'm touched as well because it's it's very vulnerable to open to us on the subject. So I'm very grateful that you do that. I'm totally. I was totally in your shoes. I was 36, 30, no, 37 years old. 37 years old when I split with the last guy. So in the Netherlands. So I can feel you. And the answer is the same all the time. We have to start with loving ourselves completely. With the with the credit card body. And with our dark hair and being small. My husband is almost 2 meters. It always starts with loving ourselves. So, and what does that mean, and how does that mean in the dating? It's gigantic, because in business it's just so easy. It's so easy to negotiate. But when you are on a date, then you are vulnerable, and then you are you very easily try to pretend to be somebody else, to pretend that you like techno, or to pretend that you like classical music, and you don't. And for me, the thing that I have learned is not to pretend ever, to be myself just constantly. And it has been a cleanup, just gigantic cleanup. Whenever somebody, because I'm a lot online, people criticize me online, I feel so happy because then I became more honest.
Okay.
And I have arguments, no, but I love my husband because of this, what we do. I came up with this argument, and he comes up with this argument. And we talk about it, and we come up with an argument to a higher level. So I do remember your lectures on logic, thesis and synthesis. It's something like that. So you come with your culture from, I forgot, Colombia?
Yes.
And you come to the Netherlands, and the relationship that you are going to create will be different to a higher level. So this vulnerability this strength of loving yourself will allow you to be vulnerable and to attract the man that is strong to be able to deal with this contradiction, because that's the thing that we have here, is that we're terribly strong, terribly strong. We change country, we study an MBA, we negotiate millions, but we're vulnerable on Sunday morning.
Yes.
And that's the subject. So
Thank you
self-love.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. So we have, wait a minute, lower hand. And I'm going to give the, Roger was somebody else?
Caroline and Marian.
Caroline and Marian. I want to unmute you. Chat. Oh, yeah.
Because
I cannot unmute you. Okay, let me see. Mariam is from Iran. So if you want, because you have raised your hand, Caroline and Mariam, please write your question, because I cannot give you, I cannot unmute you. I can see that, correct, I cannot unmute you. No. So somebody else raised a hand. Roger's iPad. More? No. I cannot unmute her.
Can we unmute on the number? Ah, and the number. Ah, which number they are?
Is it this one?
No, the number. They call in a number.
And a number. Hopefully we can. Let's see. Yes.
No.
Yes, it's that one.
No, this is from the Netherlands, but they are in Italy.
Oh.
This could be
click that one, maybe.
Ends with A3. Ah, this one. Yeah.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, hey, hi. So first of all, hello everybody, and second of all, we are here on holidays together with our families, and so we couldn't on time download the app, so we logged in with the phone, which is, you see the Dutch number,
and then remembered the iPad,
and then we remembered there's an iPad in the house that is used to put the boys for some quiet time, so we thought we use that, and then we downloaded, and anyway, and again, long story short, we're here with two mediums. Because why not? And first of all, thank you very much for the webinar. And to tell you the truth, the reason that we were very, let's say, curious to join this webinar was the post that we saw on the RSM group. And to be frank, we were a little bit confused about what actually this means. So before understanding full concept and the context of and the message that you're trying to convey, we thought it would be the best thing to do is to actually listen and understand what is happening. And I understand, and I really, really appreciate the fact that you shared with us your story. And I can imagine that it takes a lot of courage also to relive and also tell us the experiences that you've had. And I understand the point. On the other hand, what we also we were discussing is that in an event such as this one, and in the topics such as this one, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to understand what actually the context is and what is the conversation is actually about and what is the message. And in the time and climate that we are, with all the conversation about gender equality, and all the topics that are happening in the world, around the world, with sexual assault, with equal pay, with empowering women, etc. Sometimes I feel that it is easy to for the other people who actually see a message such as this one to not understand the full, let's say, message or the truth of the message, rather than just read, okay, there's some biological limitations or challenges for women to reach their full potential, which is not necessarily the case, which I completely understand in this point now. After that, it's all genders, because I don't think this is only women, for sure not. And I know a lot of women who have broken that chain of 7 generations. I am lucky to know few of those. And on the other hand, I also know a lot of men who are having the same challenges that we go through. But the conversation here, and I understand because it comes from your personal experience, and this is something that you're very, very passionate about, which I really, really appreciate. And that is to make sure that this is not the message that we're giving out to the world, right? That, okay, women are not reaching their full potential because there's some biological limitations. And now we know. So that was a very well spent 1 hour. And I'm very happy that we managed to connect somehow and see part of the present. I mean, we saw, I think, from the start, we heard everything, but I think the slides we saw a little bit later. And no, I just wanted to say thank you for this chance for us to understand what this post was about, because we do have a very close-knit group of very, very smart, intelligent, outspoken women friends. And we were talking about this, and it was important for all of us to understand what actually is the story behind it. So I'm very happy with that. And I salute you for your courage. And I salute you for your courage to share your story with the world and do what you're doing. And I wish you all the best. And I just hope that in the future, maybe a little bit more mindful of the audience that would see the message and making sure that this is not a statement or general statement to the world. Because the people, like, we have a lot of our good friends are male, are some alumni as well. And we know that this is not what they think. And we know that this is not how they practice their professional careers. This is not what they believe or what they think. And I think together, having this communal, let's say, conversation, that would be the best way to approach and make sure that everybody, not just women, everybody would reach their potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had to tell you that before I started before I did this lecture just dedicated for women, I was doing it for couples. It's a book called One Couple, Two Careers. And I was presenting basically this very same content for men and women. And mainly I was working in engineering universities and companies. And you know what was so cool is that the men were the ones who went to the work, who brought the wife or who brought the girlfriend. So there is a lot of interest for men to, it's not to empower the woman, it's to have an awesome life with a woman who can understand them and who can talk with them, who is happy, who doesn't get into postnatal depression. Putting it on a different perspective, I also want to say that thank you. I'm really excited that you say this, because we put out their content, and this is the first time that we put it like this, and it's the first time that we give it the title. And I can see how the title can be misinterpreted. I can see it, because then it sounds like, there's something wrong with women. There was these studies, that the brain of the woman is small, and it can be really misleading. So I'm going to ditch the title. Thank you so much. So appreciate it.
That's really interesting. Sorry, this is Caroline here. Just to add to what Mariam was saying a minute ago. Well, it's really interesting to know that you did it before with couples. Then I totally think it would be such an interesting message to share with everybody. But then I understand, of course, you want to focus it on women. Now we understand that, but I think it's definitely very interesting to share with everybody, because I wasn't aware of this, 7 generations DNA thing, and I think that everyone can kind of benefit from it. So thanks again.
Yeah, and indeed, what I was very concerned about was that when we limit it to women, we give yet another interesting argument to those male colleagues that are not necessarily have the same let's say, understanding of equality another argument to go around and to say, well, or you're biologically limited. And that's something that I think, personally, I think to have a more equal world, not just on professional or like also personal, on political, on every front.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is indeed communication, which I think you're doing it, and I think we're doing it on our end as well. And at the same time, I think it's really, really important to make sure that we define and we do our communication in a way that really resonates with what we want to say, and making sure that people understand what actually this is about. Because to tell you the truth, among our group of friends, we had a lot of heated conversations about this. And that's why we thought, you know what, we should join and understand what actually this is about. And which tells me something fantastic here, that I would say Carolyn and I and our friends were very lucky to have each other, that we're confronting each other with such conversations and such topics, that we feel the need that, okay, we're going to take an hour and go and join this webinar. We're here in some place in Italy, whatever, and we enjoy it, and we make sure that we give our 2 pennies, and making sure that next time around that you do this, maybe you want to redefine it in a way that another group of people are not confused about it.
Yeah.
Because I believe what you're doing is very, very interesting and it's very good. It's just important that we do not make it a statement or a generalization of a particular topic.
Yeah. So I'm going to be naughty with all of you. So of course, you know that all this is, we're volunteers, Har and I, and this whole is free. We don't get any money. On the contrary, we're just putting time and time in this. So I want to ask you some kind of quote unquote payment. Do us a favor. Send us drop us a line, or maybe you can do it in the chat, or send us an email to MentorWe or to our private emails. If you can come up with the inspiration of a better way to call this lecture, or to the how not to give that statement of that puts off people.
Another title.
Yeah, another title. So I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful that you talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that you show up. I'm very grateful that you give me the feedback. So that's really exciting. I send you a very big hug all the way to Italy, and I hope to meet you soon. Okay, so do we have, Margarita is asking if I could explain the purpose of the RSM group. And Margarita, you saw this, thank you, yeah, that's awesome. A big hug, and I hope we hug each other very soon. Margarita is asking if I could explain the purpose of RSM to understand the perspective of the participants. Margarita is a dear friend of mine, met in all this world of doing business in the Netherlands. We are alumnus of the Rotterdam School of Management, who set up an initiative to empower women. And we are not for-profit organization. We are a volunteering organization, and what we do is we mentor each other. We have made couples of all the women who have subscribed, and they are meeting for coffee at their own pace. And we are running webinars every single month on the first Monday of the month. And since this is a really new initiative, we are finding what are the interests of this community. because as I mentioned before, the community is mainly alumnus of RSM, and their problems are the problems that we're talking about, being better represented in business, being able to negotiate, dealing with all these love and self-esteem subjects. So that's what, how we are choosing all these subjects. And no, it's not limited to the RSM ladies. We have a couple of friends who are our friends because they did business with us or because they studied with us somewhere else. So it's not close to RSM. So Margarita, you're absolutely welcome to be here. There is another comment here. Oh. This is indeed a very interesting topic. Actually, lots of research is being done by Dr. Joe Dispenza, is one of the big guys, doing this and explaining this from a spiritual and also scientific point of view with lots of evidence and study. As Miriam and Karen mentioned, it is basically meant for both men and women. I highly recommend it. He explains it really well and also gives amazing solutions with incredible results. Absolutely. Yeah, the Joe Dispenza is absolutely great. And there are many other researchers out there. So that's it's just, you know, the zeitgeist. We are really bringing spirituality to the equation, and science is catching up to discover that actually it works. Yeah, great. So do we have more questions or comments? Now we went over time, but it's absolutely a delight. So do we have any question or comment there?
No, here.
Not there. So know that you can contact me through that URL, blancavergara.com/yes. And I'm going to hand over to Yara because she's going to do the closing.
So I think wow, because it was a very intense webinar, and I think we note about the title of the webinar maybe was misleading. But thank you, Blanca. Thank you for your insights and your research. It was very, very good. I think our next webinar will be in September, and we are thinking to have a panel of people in the webinar to talk how to find a job in the Netherlands, because that was another hot topic we received in the questionnaires. And I think, I don't know what to say because it was very, very intense, the webinar. But I think the love is the answer to everything, and love should be in the air of everything. It's not like love is in the air, should be in the air. And I think it's love to our work, it's love to our partners, to our friends, and to ourselves. And well, enjoy the summer break and the holidays, and see you in September.
See you, bye. Bye. I want to see this. Save chat. Sure. Okay.